Hi and welcome to Coastside Online. We are so glad you could join us here. Wherever you are, we hope you're doing well. And we want to welcome you. If it's your first time joining us, you just clicked on this video randomly or you're listening via podcast, we want to welcome you and say, here at Coastside, we believe in two things. One is you don't have to believe to belong. And number two, we love you where you're at. You don't have to be perfect because we're not. You can come as you are and be a part of what we do here. But today we are talking about resting in God's presence. And I've got my wife here, Kirsty, and she's joining us as we're going to have an amazing conversation about this. Babe, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you, babes?
I'm good.
That's good.
Really cool that we could do this.
I know.
Tonight
Love a good combo.
and be here. I just wanted to kick it straight off. I didn't want to waste anyone's time. I just wanted to ask you just straight off. I know that you haven't been a Christian your whole life, but you have discovered God at one point in your life. Why is it important, as you discovered God, to find rest in Him through the chaos of life? Why is it important to you?
I think there's for me personally is that you go through seasons as a human. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not where I was, say, 10 years ago.
Of course. And
rest to me 10 years ago looks different to the rest to me now.
What do you mean?
So for me personally, I just think because, there's added pressure in life. My life looked a whole lot different to when I was 21 to when it does now. I'm at the tail end of my 30s, haven't hit the dreaded 30 yet. But rest to me just looks different because there's been added pressure. You and I have 2 kids now. You are sometimes my third. So life can get a bit crazy. No, I'm just joking. And for me personally, I think I've also grown my relationship with God. So rest back, say, 10 years ago looked different because I didn't necessarily know how to rest in Him.
Right.
And resting in Him when I was rested as a 21-year-old looks different because now my time is really precious. I don't have that beautiful divine time to rest in God. So for you, how do you rest in God? Like, what does that look for you?
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that because I just wanted to touch base before I answer that. You said resting in your 20s is so different, and that's true because now, like, I know that you and I met you when I was quite young. Resting was like, doing nothing all weekend or...
And saying we're tired.
Or saying we're tired or, before we had kids, it was like, we need to find some rest. Life's so hard. I know that from a point of view of me just tapping into knowing about God or not knowing Him, but knowing about God, that I found rest through other avenues. Like I thought, maybe... going out on the weekend and getting drunk, trying to escape my week, trying to get away from...
That's what rest looked like.
It was like, I'm over my week, I'm waiting for Friday.
Yeah.
Once I get there, I'm just going to get absolutely smashed.
Yeah.
That's my rest.
That's your
rest. And then I
rest.
repeat the next week.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I actually realized that was more exhausting for my life.
Absolutely.
Than rest.
Yeah.
But... I know that's what you could relate to, and we both have been in that season. I think for me, the new style of rest is not so much even just stopping and saying, I'm not going to do anything today, but it's understanding that things that I can't control, God's got.
Yeah.
Like the pressure of going, I have to sort this, I have to do this, or I'm overwhelmed by what's happening in my life, to take a step back and go, God, I'm going to rest in you, and you're going to take care of this. For example, if I'm working now, I don't just go, I can't control the circumstances in my workplace or my life. Usually I can't wait for Friday to rest and get drunk. Now I'm like, God, today, whether it's Wednesday, I trust that you've got this. Yeah. Today, the Wednesday, I don't even have to go out on Friday. Wednesday, today I'm going to rest in you. Yeah. I'm still going to work. I'm still living my life. Still going to look after my kids. Yeah. But I rest that you've got my life. You've got my purpose. You've got, whatever the situation is that I feel like's out of my control. And I say, God, I'm going to rest in you and make sure and know that you have taken care of this. Yeah. And so Friday doesn't become this escape for me.
No.
Every morning's a fresh day to go, you know what, God?
That's exactly right.
I'm going to rest in your shadow.
And adding to
that, take care of that.
I think for a lot of us, we thought that we had an idea of what rest is, and you can be somebody who actually knows Jesus, and you feel like, and in yourself, you feel like you have this idea of what rest is, and you know how to rest in God. But when push comes to shove, rest doesn't always mean asleep or an hour away from the kids or, just going for a walk along the beach. I truly believe, and this is because I've lived this, and this has been, a journey and a conversation that I've had with God, is that you truly cannot rest in God. And I mean fully rest if you're not doing the purpose that is on your life. Yeah. You can't fully rest in and rest in the peace, because there's a difference between resting and then resting in his peace. You can't live day to day. You live with insecurities. All of that, every single one of us is broken. Yeah. That's the whole reason why that we have come to know this incredible Jesus, is because our life has been broken. We needed help. There's a factor of things that we can, bring to the surface. But resting isn't just having a nap. Yeah. Resting isn't me giving you my resignation as a mum going, I've had enough of these kids. Yeah. Here's my resignation. I'm done. It's not. It's about actually getting to know God, finding the love of Jesus. And I'm not just talking about just finding the love of Jesus. Like, have you genuinely 100% found the love of Jesus? Because you could know all the scriptures. You can be like an OG in the scripture. You can literally recite scriptures like it's going out of fashion. But do you and have you had that divine personal connection with Jesus? Because that is what actually is resting in him. Because when you know Jesus, when you have fully had an encounter and an experience with Jesus, your insecurity doesn't matter, because you know who you are in him, because he whispers, he tells you daily. And in that rest, you find peace, you find hope, you find your calling. And I think for me, as I've come along this journey, because you've been so blessed to be able to have a legacy and to grow up with Christian parents, whereas my circumstances are different. I've sort of had to walk this journey, not alone, but definitely had to walk it just me and him. I haven't had anybody really speaking into my life prior to being a part of a phenomenal church of people who speak life into you. But for me personally, it's just that walk of when you genuinely know Jesus, when you have personally experienced. I'm not just talking about people telling me who this amazing God is. When you have 100% yourself fully encountered Jesus, there you find rest. I can open scripture before I knew God, before I knew who he was. If I was to open the Bible, it wouldn't have made any sense to me, because I don't know who he is. The book of life didn't speak life to me, because I didn't understand who this Jesus was. The moment that I gave my life to God, those words in the book of life had a whole different meaning. And that's what it's like to rest in him. It's to actually bring back your life and step into that calling and actually getting to know who you were truly destined to be. For me, that is for me what it's like to rest. But you know what? Sometimes that's not reality. Hey, like that's not reality for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I know that touching on the knowing of God or knowing him personally is the difference between true rest. Yeah. And I know that sometimes we can base our belief system off how much we know. Yeah. Therefore, I'll find rest in God. But can I just say this, because this really spoke to me. There's two big things that will bring you true peace in life, and the rest of it's kind of just part of what we call the journey. Number one is to actually believe Jesus Christ loves you and you find rest in that, is also to believe that you have to love everyone else around you. Now, I know that sometimes we can be like, I'm trusting the word, I'm trusting my prayers, I'm trusting my worship time, I'm trusting this, but then I treat someone bad. I treat someone wrong downtown. I'm not, I'm short-tempered with my wife, or I lose it with my workmates, and we can still feel unsatisfied, even though those other boxes are ticked. Exactly. Even though I'm attending church, even though I'm been a Christian for 1 month, 10 months, 2 years, 5 years.
You're still unsettled.
I'm unsettled in my walk following Christ. I don't find rest in it. It's a high-paced...
Comes that religious routine.
You talk to Christians and they'll say, I'm exhausted. and the idea, this is just number one, the idea is the way we treat others in pure love, our enemies, and love them and forgive them, that's how God provides rest to us. Yeah. He's like, hey, like, you're speaking my heart, and I love the title. It's resting in his shadow. Yeah.
It's not in him, it's even just his shadow you can rest in.
Resting in God's shadow. What does that mean? It means if I'm doing what God's heart is, his shadow naturally comes over my life. Exactly. If I'm like, God, I praise you, and God, I worship you, and I read my Bible, and then, you know what? Stuff the atheist, I don't have time to have a conversation with gays, let's judge people. Then his shadow's removed from your life. You're unsettled. You're probably distorted.
And then it's everybody else's fault.
You're upset and you're angry, and you become someone that's religious and not have a relationship. And that's the unsettling thing. And I'm talking to maybe Christians more than unsaved people. So like, hang on a minute, I don't judge people. I don't even go to church. But to have God's shadow on your life is to understand his heart. And he loves all people. If we love all people, naturally, his shadow comes over our life. And no matter, it's not a perfect life. No matter what our life looks like, we find rest in every season.
But that's it. And I think you just touched on it, that in every season, the good, the bad, and the ugly, it's finding that rest in the peace. When I am completely overwhelmed, this, me as your wife, there has been times where I've literally written you a letter of resignation going, I'm done, I'm leaving.
I'm like, go find the shadow of God right now.
I've had enough. It's like a gloomy day. I'm outside, like underneath the clouds. But there has been those days where even on my worst day, let's get into those conversations, babe. When there's financial pressure, when you're thinking, okay, how the heck am I going to get formula and bread and milk and nappies for our kids this week? Like, it just hasn't worked.
Just to stop you there,
it hasn't
what
worked.
You said, there's all these bills. How do we get all this? And we know the scriptures. We've turned up to church. We're praising God.
And we're
facing that.
Yeah, and we still have that worry.
That we do all those things still.
Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? And you still have that worry on your life.
Yep.
There's this peace that you can't, we are just like everybody else. We have financial pressure, we have, family stuff, we have, we've got it all. We're human, just because we know this incredible God does not, exempt us from things. But when those hard things come, when the financial pressure comes, when the anxiety comes over our life, and when things happen, we never give up. And I think that's the difference between not knowing Jesus and knowing Jesus, is that we have this peace that you just know that shadow is right there. And it comes back to that faith. It's like, you know what, God, this is too big for me. And actually verbally saying, this thing is too big for me. I need you. I need to rest in your shadow right now. I need you to come and intervene in this, because this thing's too big. And I think for a lot of Christians, if I can just speak to you for a hot minute, is it just comes down to, well, I'm not going to go see that psychologist. I'm not going to see that doctor. I'm not going to involve people into my scenario because you're embarrassed, or because you are a Christian, you should know better, or because you are a Christian, don't you have faith, Sam?
Yeah.
You're a pastor, Sam. Why are you coming to me for help? You're the pastor. You should know God. You should know the scriptures. You should know all this. But if we just strip all that back for a hot minute and just see us for who we are, and that's sons and daughters of God, and just be able to have that transparency and that courage to go, I just need a bit of help. We're struggling at the moment. Like, can you make me a meal? Like, the best thing is that we can go and raid our parents' pantry. Do you know what I mean? But bigger than that, being able to reach out to people and just go, hey, we're struggling. And I know God's good, and I know that I want to rest in his shadow right now. But when it's bigger than you, what's next? When what you're facing is bigger than you, what's next? What would you say?
Well, it's a good question, but I think it comes back to what I said before when I had the 2 points. One was for people that are saved, doing God's heart is what brings you the shadow. Yeah. But people that don't know God, and if I can take a second just to talk to you, or maybe help people that do know God understand how people that don't know God think. Yeah. One of the biggest things I found and finding this rest in those situations, financial pressure, like at the end of the day, this stuff happens to everyone. Like, we all have to have a moment in our lives where the high-paced, high-stressful stuff happens. And I like what you touched on before. You said, we just try to get through it. But I find that when we're in God's peace, and I know that I used to just get through it, when I find God's rest, I don't just get through it, I thrive through it. Like, I come to the other side and go, who would have thought a situation that I can't control has made me a better person?
Humanly, that should have broke you.
Humanly,
that should have broke you, but because you
I sat in his shadow,
exactly,
and I said, "This is where I am." But this is what I want to say, just to, like I said, the people that might not know God, or maybe you do know God, and you want to understand how people that don't believe in God think. What really speaks to someone, and this is what really will bring rest to your life. If you are discovering God and you're looking for God, or you're looking for something, can I just start with the first step to that? And the first step is understanding you have purpose. Understanding you have a calling, you have a reason, and, drum roll, you actually matter. Like, you might be like, do I matter? Like, I'm just kind of on this earth, I'm just doing I'm just doing whatever. You actually matter. You actually are loved. There is a God that created you, and you went, you know what? I'm so proud of you. No matter, you're probably thinking, oh man, he's surely not talking to me. Everyone watching, everyone's, God made us all. He loves us all. He wants to meet us all, and he has a purpose for us all. And one of the greatest things that I could, encourage those that don't know God is start to go, you know what? I want to find this purpose, and I want to know that I'm not just existing, but I live for a reason. And God has that reason. Now, this is why this is important, because when we're saved, unsaved, Christian, non-Christian, believer or non-believer, at the end of the day, when we find God, the real thing that keeps us on track is not the perfect life.
No.
It's not that God's absolutely perfect, and then people go, well, I thought if I joined God life would be perfect. At the end of the day, it's purpose that keeps me going through. No matter what happens,
that's it.
I find rest in my purpose. And where my purpose comes from is God. And I want to say this right now. No matter what's happening in the world, we know there's a lot of things happening in churches and non-churches and your sports fields, schoolyards, everywhere, workplaces. Purpose will keep us going. I wake up still now, no matter how crazy life is, and I say, you know what? I'm resting in his shadow. He made me the way I'm made, and I've got extreme purpose. My purpose is to love those. I mean, we see purpose in, going and dropping school packs at the schools and feeding people that can't afford lunch. Having chats with our neighbours about God. My neighbour across the road came over and said, hey, you're always smiling. I said, oh, geez, you've only seen me on good days. He said, no, you're always smiling. I want to know the secret. And I said, look, I'm a Christian. I follow God. The purpose still exists, even though the circumstances changed.
That's it.
And I want to say this really clearly for those that believe, keep your purpose and that will keep you in rest. But those who don't believe, find your purpose. I can only imagine a financial pressure or a sickness landing on your table and you have no purpose. You just have this battle and you go, I face this with nothing. No God, no shadow.
No nothing.
no purpose. I look at things now, and they're the same things I had 10 years ago. Financial pressure, kids are sometimes naughty. They're not always perfect. And sometimes there's circumstances like sickness we can't change.
Yeah, that's it.
But I go, you know what? I got purpose.
Yeah.
And in that purpose,
Yeah.
I know who I am.
Yeah.
I rest in his shadow.
Yeah.
And we go through that season together.
Yeah.
That
It's that
is one of the greatest
It's that
things.
self-discovery.
For sure.
Of when you know that you genuinely know who you are in God. Literally nothing can stop you.
Nothing.
There'll be no virus, there'll be
Yeah.
no financial pressure, there'll be nothing that can break you.
No.
It may shake you, but heck, it
Can't
will
break you.
not break you.
Yep.
And that is the difference between resting in God's shadow
And having a nap.
and having a nap.
Because I'm sure people
But,
click on this and they're
listen,
like,
how do I nap?
Yeah, they're like, do we take some sort of drugs to sleep for 8 hours?
You know
Like,
what we should call this? Mums and dads.
Yeah.
How to rest. That'll be a good clickbait one.
But I wonder how many people live life and they think stopping means you're giving up.
Yes,
Or taking a breather means you're not being an entrepreneur, you're not pushing through, or you're not succeeding.
Rest is a part of the journey. I feel like you can't be at your full potential, and you can't get to your end goal without resting.
Correct. And stopping.
You've got to stop.
That's why the State of Origin have halftime.
Yeah. Out of everything, that's the analogy you get. You don't even watch the State of Origin.
Yeah, but I know they have halftime.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I always see the KFC ad and I'm like, I'm
Listen,
going to go rest and get some KFC.
I'm from a rugby league family. This one is not from a rugby league family. Look, babe, I'm proud of you for even. Good on you. You're learning.
I got a
I'm
better
teaching
example.
my
Better
husband.
example.
Okay, better
I'll
example.
get biblical with you.
Okay.
For those that I know. Jesus.
Oh.
Everyone knows Jesus. Great guy, right? Fabulous guy. If you don't know him, go read.
Encourage you to know him.
Go check it out. Jesus did some big, amazing things. Some things that were so high pressured, so overwhelming, so incredibly amazing. But one thing that he showed throughout the whole of what his life was and his journey is he always disengaged and rest before he re-engaged and changed the world. And I think as Christians and maybe people that are discovering Jesus is a great example of what it is to be the best version of yourself, to get through any circumstance, to do amazing things, rest, engage, let God do what he has to do, then rest. Like you think about the storm and he's lying on the boat just sleeping. There's a storm,
Radio.
the whole world's calm.
Radio, Jesus.
I'm just snapping, It's just like, Jesus was just like, hey, I know God's going to use me for purpose. I got purpose. But hey, I'm not just go, entrepreneur, work, burn out and die. I rest in my Father's shadow. I rejuvenate. I get better. And I go out and change the world.
And you know what the world does? There's a difference between the world
it's high-paced.
and heaven. And it's that the world glorifies busy.
Yeah, they do.
When I was working full-time before I had my beautiful babies, I was like, you would know, I was a workaholic. I mean, like, I'm a goal-driven person. I was like, go, to the fact where...
But we did eat steak every night.
Yeah, we don't eat steak every night now. But our relationship suffered.
Yeah, it did.
Because I was working all the time, so therefore I was so exhausted. Like I didn't even want to have a conversation with you. Like me and you actually had conversations where I was like, as soon as I get in this car, I need 5 minutes because my job, I would talk to people all day, and it was just mentally exhausting. And Samuel's job was at a desk, so he wouldn't talk to anybody all day. So
I was in God's shadow.
all day.
Good Christian man.
I was in the world. Hello, get it done. And our circumstances were clashing because there was did not understand what it was like to rest. And the world would glorify
Busyness.
I'm looking at you right now. The world wants to glorify busy to you. And I want to let you know to put that annual leave slip in right now. I'm telling you, your workplace may make you feel guilty for it, but I'm telling you that rest will make you a better employee, a better manager, a better mum, a better dad, a better sister, a better auntie, a better pastor. For my birthday this year, I've already told my husband, you are booking me a hotel room alone. No you, no kids. I'm resting for 24 hours
Practice what we
by
preach here, have the
myself
hotel.
because I need it. I need that
Yeah.
time just to have nobody to answer to.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just that 24 hours in the season that I'm in, the fact that I'll be able to just have 24 hours by myself, not have any noise.
Yeah.
I don't want to add to the noise. I
Yeah.
want to add to the solution, and the solution is me resting so then I can hear clearly from my God, so I can be a better wife, and I
Yeah.
can be a better mom, and I can be a better pastor. You know, let's not glorify busy, and let's absolutely glorify
Yeah.
resting in God's shadow, because I promise you that it will literally be, it'll almost be a make or break moment for you.
Yeah.
And I promise you,
yeah.
it'll be a make moment, because you're able to see things clearly, because your head is not full of fuss.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm being serious about the hotel room too. You got to know this.
I know. You know, it reminds me, Kirsty and I have a very dear friend of ours. His name's Pastor Dave Schaefer. Shout out to Dave Schaefer.
I love me some
And
Shafe.
he
He's
said
such a
to us
champ.
a while ago that when you plan a holiday or rest, the holiday starts before you get to the holiday.
As
'Cause
soon
it's
as you
something
book
to
it.
look forward to.
Yep.
And that's always sat with me. Like, I know that we Kirsty's not saying that not being busy means you're lazy.
No.
We are busy. We do stuff.
We're naturally
but
busy as people.
We don't praise busyness.
No.
We honor balance of resting in His shadow, but then also doing everything we can to have the best family, best life. You know, put food on the table, work hard. We still do that. We just don't glorify that.
No.
But one thing, just to encourage you, like a little side note from what Dave was saying, is plan something once a month or once a year that you can hang on to and go, you know what, that's my moment where I'll rest.
Yeah.
And it's in your calendar, and that's the moment I'll rest in God, or I'll rest, on holidays. Take a breather before I re-engage, like Jesus did. Disengage before you re-engage, and just rest in His shadow. I know that for us, we've done that, and it's done wonders. And I know this is a touchy subject, because I know the first thing I heard when the pandemic happened is the devil's trying to shut down church. The church is over. Shut down church. This is bad. This is bad. It's bad. And God spoke to me so clearly. And I'm not saying God said so. This is the way of the highway. But God spoke to me and said, Sam, He's like, don't panic. Yeah. He's like, you were going to die. The way you were going, you were going to burn out. You're going to be, I want you to serve me for the rest of your life, not just for a part of your life. He
But
said,
wholeheartedly, not just do it because
of the emotion.
Yeah, because you are saved, and because you did have that experience with Jesus. Now, because you're working and you are tired out, it then becomes like this routine, and you unknowingly are becoming religious.
Yeah,
and
for
that's
sure.
not it.
Yeah.
He's what God's saying to us all is, come back, baby, come back, son, come back, daughter. Let's get focused. What's important is my shadow. What's important is rest. And how many pastors have we talked to? How many people have we talked to that said, you know what? The lockdowns of last year and the shutting down of some things really actually saved who they were as a being, because they
it saved me.
Yeah,
I admit that. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like desensitized to what this pandemic's done.
We had that conversation. Did you?
Like, be desensitized to other people's journeys.
Yeah, exactly.
But for me,
but this is our journey. Yeah.
The pandemic was one of the greatest moments for my life before I crashed into a wall. Yeah. And so I just, and I know, I'm not saying that God does things for different people. God just be's God, and we follow whatever journey He gives us. Yep. But I will encourage you that no matter what journey you're on, find the good in it. Yeah. Like, look for the rest. Like, it's like, no, God maybe wasn't shutting down the church. Like, the devil's not shutting down the church, so the gospel stops. It's like, we stayed up nights going, when we go back, how do we re-engage with our community?
Yes.
How do we, we started planning.
It's the zeal came back. It's like the zeal came back for the church. How do I reach my schools?
How do we reach, maybe I shouldn't preach like that. Maybe I should have a conversation, not just yell at people.
We were forced into creativeness. Realistically, we were forced to do something different. And if you're a pastor and watching right now.
Or just a Christian.
And just,
Just someone that serves God.
Yeah, if you serve
God. You
God.
don't have to be a pastor. Just someone that goes, gave my life to God to spread the gospel.
Or if you're somebody who is watching right now and doesn't know who God is.
You got to get to know Him.
Yeah, please. Trust me, your life would be beautiful with Him. Yeah. But you would know in your workplace that your managers or your corporate or your CEO forced you to work differently. Every single person who works in some shape or form, whether you are a stay-at-home mum, shout out to you, love you, you are the best human alive, or you physically work at a workplace, you had to change structure. You had to change the way, and still now, with all these new lockdowns, we've had to change the way that we do things. Right now, Samuel and I are preaching to you through multiple cameras, having the best time. We've got another pastor here, Pastor Locke. Shout out to Pastor Locke. We love you. He's here helping us right now. And we're forced to do it differently. You know what we're used to? Live.
And that's exactly right. And you and I said this conversation. We're like, we're forced to do this. But I'm thinking to myself, I can do church, and we're going to go back to church. We're going to announce that soon. We're going to be back. Don't freak out. But I thought, how many people could see this message tonight that have never walked into our doors before? So I see the good, I see the rest in the season. And that's what God does. I said, instead of me going, our church is shut, we're not going to reach the world. God, I rested in God's shadow. I took a moment and said, God, okay, the doors are shut. What do we do? And he said, have you thought of this? Do you know you can reach people here? And all of a sudden,
see that? The creativity, guys. I love it. I love
back out of
it.
the shadow and say, Kirst,
Love it.
let's have a conversation about rest. This could go further than the four walls of our church. Boom, here we are right now. That is what happens when you rest in God's shadow. It's not about having a nap. I didn't freak out and have a nap.
No.
I rested and I said, God, you've got this. What now? And I felt rejuvenated. I felt excited. Where they probably wouldn't if I just kept going through the motions, kept doing my thing. That applies for church people, non-church people, workplace, full-time mums, half-time dads, me.
You're a full-time daddy. You're a great dad.
I'm not home all the time. I try to be home as much as I can, but, or maybe I am at the moment because of lockdown, but, just wherever your life circumstances, whether you're, looking after kids full-time or you're working and balancing those two, find a moment of rest. Find a moment of rest in your life, and that will rejuvenate you. But I think, and just to be blunt, although you can find rest and all that, true rest, honest rest, the real settling of your soul, not your body, is finding Jesus Christ. And actually believing that something bigger than you is taking care of it.
Absolutely.
Because we can give great advice about rest, and I think you've done fantastic, babe.
Cheers, bud.
But you and I both know that all that doesn't matter unless Jesus Christ is at the core of what we believe and is at the center of what we walk.
Absolutely.
And that is the true key to our success. It's not that we just became good at balancing life.
No.
Jesus taught us what it was, even if life was unbalanced.
Exactly.
To rest in him.
Because everything's going to happen regardless if I know Jesus or not. The difference is that I have this incredible God and this incredible Jesus who gave me purpose and sought out my soul and said that, hey, you're amazing. And you know what? You are stronger than you believe. And you know what? You have this and you have got this. And just those simple words give you another 2 energy batteries in the back and
you said
can go.
That's the full circle back to your purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
babe, I think you should wrap it up because it's been fun talking to you. We covered many topics tonight, I think.
Isn't this the life of a parent? You're like, we actually got
our kids
a 20
minute right
20-minute conversation without being interrupted.
Hey, love chatting with you. We love you.
We just want to let you know that if you have made it this far and you are ours and you don't know who God is, and you may know Sam and I personally, and you want to get to know him that bit more, or you would love just to talk to Sam and I more a little bit about what it is to rest and how do you rest, and if you want any advice or any pastoring, gosh, it would be our absolute honor to be able to offer that to you. What do we encourage you to do? You can just simply go to all of our social medias. We actually have a phenomenal app. Go to Google Play or the App Store, type in Coastside Church, and we're right there. And we are literally at your fingertips because we would it would be our absolute pleasure to be able just to have a conversation with you and get to know you. So if that is you, please do that. We love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. And you close it out, babe. Go on.
That was great. Anyway,
you close it
out.
out.
But I just want to say this. We love you. But seriously, It won't be long before we are meeting again. All good if we don't. We're going to find ways to connect and find ways to reach our worlds. We'll be meeting soon. We'll keep you up to date when we're going to meet. And we just want to say thanks for being a part of this journey with us and staying on this journey and going, you know what? Through this, we're together. Doesn't matter if we're on the other sides of the world or the camera. Through this together, we are together. And we just think it's an absolute honor to be able to pass to you wherever you are right now and be your friend. So with that note, we love you. And thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you soon.